My name is Matt Compton, and this is my third observation. It's November 28th, and today we're going to be I'm presenting to a leadership council within our school. These are individuals that have been picked to represent their program, and we just will each week a new coach or a new teacher is going to come in and deliver a message. Today's message is tough versus soft, and I'm setting up right now, and I'll move the camera around a little bit, but you'll see kids trickling in at some point here soon. This is a handout that I'm giving them. I'll try and attach it to this assignment. My reflection is this is a reflection for them as we go through this the lesson here, a piece for them to kind of take away for themselves and then also for their program that they represent here.
Being that I was in 3 Hell Weeks, I knew a lot of the guys. I knew every guy that died on the operation. So the story touched me so much, I wanted to find a way to raise money for the family. So that's kind of how it went down.
All right, I'm gonna run through this really quick. All right, tough versus soft. Where do you stand? We're going to talk about the need for reflection throughout the process of this. I'm going to, if there's not too many kids, I'm going to ask where or what organization they represent, their name. They can kind of speak to that. And just introduce myself. My name is Matt Compton. I'm the anatomy and physiology teacher here. One of them, I'm the boys' assistant soccer coach. I consider myself a family man. I've got a wife and a daughter at home, and soccer enthusiast, and then a Midwestern State graduate. And I will mention that I'm going to graduate again here in a couple weeks with my master's. We talk about what we traditionally think of as a soft leader or a tough leader or a soft individual and a tough individual. And that is, as far as soft goes, emotional, quit when it doesn't feel right, quiet. Now, those aren't necessarily soft leader. It doesn't mean you're a soft leader, okay? This is just what we traditionally think of in regards to being a leader. Being a tough leader, you show no emotion, play through the pain, go big or go home. And again, that is traditionally what we think. Doesn't always necessarily mean that they are tough, but it is what we view that way sometimes. Here's what I wanted to kind of focus on a lot of, just certain qualities that represent being a soft leader, right? So I wanted, instead of talking about being soft individuals or a tough individual, I want to talk about what it looks like to be a soft leader compared to a tough leader. And as I was working through this, my wife was kind of saying, "Are you should?" No, I don't think I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna say that. Just kind of walking through this one time. So a soft leader is going to avoid conflict. They're going to let empathy affect their values. And I wanted to really focus on this one quite a bit because I think empathy is a good thing, and I don't think that we should, I'm not trying to communicate that we should not have empathy, but when we let our empathy affect our values, that's when it gets to be dangerous. And what I mean by that is, an example I could give you would be if I came to work and my daughter kept me up last night, because that's what she does. She just wakes up in the middle of the night sometimes, and she just likes to stay up for hours, and she likes for me to sleep on the floor next to her, right? And I came to work, and I was just like, "Mrs. Miles, I'm really tired. Like, I was up all night. Can I go home?" And if she just said, "Oh yeah, you know what, we take off," and then it happened again the next week, and then it happened again the next week, right? And then what she's doing is she's allowing me to become not effective in my job. She's saying we don't need the excellence here in this regard. So whenever we let those empathy affect our values and change those, it can be dangerous. No accountability. This one's pretty clear. I come from a world of athletics, and so we need to be here on time. Everybody needs to be here. It's a team effort. And most of you guys are participating in organizations where that's the case as well. So when somebody doesn't show up, somebody doesn't bring their side of the project, somebody doesn't know their lines or their notes or things like that, it affects the whole group. A soft leader is going to lack integrity. We need to be doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, even when no one's looking. We'll see a quote here in just a sec that I really thought stood out. We are incompetent. If a soft leader is incompetent, and I think that's a lazy excuse to not know. Things come up and we make mistakes, and that's fine. Especially when we're learning things, right? If you don't know something, you don't know until sometimes it's too late. But keeping on making that same mistake can be just a sign of laziness, right? We're not looking to know the right thing. We're not putting any effort in. On the other hand, I try to match these up, but they don't match up perfectly, but I think that it's pretty good. A tough leader is going to deliver hard news. I think this is one of the hardest things to do, at least in my perspective as a leader. Alright, we're going to run through that. This is a quote, David Cottrell: "Doing the right thing isn't always easy. In fact, sometimes it's hard. But remember, doing the right thing is always right." Full benefits is a mindset that comes from the Navy SEALs. Talk about this. Focus on the benefits rather than the problem. Watch a video. And then here's our reflection time. And I'm going to end it and keeping yourself focused and talking about how they should look up a quote to write down. Are we? I'm using this as a, so I'm working on my master's right now. I'm using this as an observation. And,
What do you get the master's in?
educational leadership. Yeah, after school. Well, go see this signature. Yeah, put that up. Is it? Yeah. It is finishing up this month. So I'll be done. Yeah, it's been, they came back this last semester, they said, in the middle of it, they said, you actually didn't even take my like a research class. And I was like, actually, so the money, that was the worst part. It's all online.
I'll have them, Ellis, can you get these back to me? I'm in the Zoom right now, so I'm trying to multitask, so I came to say hi to Tiff and you, and then I'm gonna go back. I turned it off, my face off, I put my shoes on my desk. Did Michelle send you that email? Who was it? I'm like, well, then. You wait to send this down until they start. That way, like, don't pass it yet. Okay, we'll pass it to end. Alright, I'm putting y'all in charge of this one. Don't pass till we start, but when you start, I want you to do this person first. And then pass. Does that, okay? So you're just holding, because I have to run to another meeting too. Okay, yeah, and if you don't see your name, mark it at the end.
That's several some of that
I
educational
know.
leadership.
I'm gonna give you this one too. I'm gonna give you guys this one for a row behind it. Okay. All right, so you guys want to charge a roll. I know, I'm like. Usually we get a pretty, like a full thing. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know where everybody is, but like you said, then we're starting to compete with other things going on too. Hey y'all, it's good to see you. Thank y'all for coming.
Is this the, you said the internship?
We're in the video game. We're in the videos.
Oh shoot, one of these things.
Anyone get one of these? Anybody not get one of these?
All right, we'll get started here. Coach Compton's gonna lead us with, the topic of the day. Again, our whole objective this 6 weeks is being tough. And not just necessarily on your field or court or whatever, but being tough in life and getting through stuff. I know there's several out today with their educational internship. I had several people reach out to me. So if there's somebody in your program not here, just relay the message and then, y'all just speak in front of your group. But make sure you sign in. There's a sign-in sheet going around before you leave. And, Coach Compton, you got it.
All right. As Coach Miller said, I have the topic of tough versus soft. My name is Coach Compton. I'll just kind of get going on here. I'm an anatomy and physiology teacher here. I'm also the boys' assistant soccer coach. I consider myself a family man, and I was a Midwestern State graduate, and I was talking to Coach Miller just a second ago. I'm actually graduating again in a couple weeks with my educational leadership degree with my master's. And one thing that I think through that whole last 3 years that I've picked up on is there's so much reflection that occurs in, just grab one of those on the way in. There's so much reflection that occurs in these classes. So leadership is a lot about taking a look inside and seeing what you have, where you stand, and so we'll kind of look at some characteristics there, but the sheet of paper is there for you, and it's not going to be turned in, nobody else is going to see this. I'm not going to ask anybody to share out loud necessarily, maybe the very last thing, but keep that in mind as we go through this. I also wanted to kind of know who I'm speaking to, so if you could kind of just let me know what organizations, because that's how it works, right? There's certain organizations, it's not just athletes, right?
Right.
If you could kind of let me know what organization you're with, come on, get up there. This way I kind of know who I'm speaking to. Okay, we'll start over here. Okay. Wrestling, okay? Both of you guys? Yeah. Football. You can say it still. Soccer, okay. Soccer. What's that? Student council. Let's go basketball. Okay, up top. Both of you? Esports, okay. Student council. Both y'all? Yeah. Volleyball? Football? And then the sapphire. Okay. All right. I come from the athletics world, so I'm sorry if some of my examples are kind of one direction. I'll try to include some other things as best I can, but that's just kind of where my mind is and where I'm at. All right. I wanted to start off with what we traditionally think of as tough versus soft, right? We typically think of a soft individual or a soft, even though a tough leader is emotional, maybe they quit when it doesn't feel right, or they're quiet. And not to say that those aren't soft qualities, but I think that sometimes you can still have these qualities and be tough, right? Traditionally we think of, shows no emotion, plays through the pain, goes big or go home. And there's no question that those are going to be tough, right? Those are tough qualities. But I remember when I was in high school watching like one of the toughest guys in the NBA win a championship, and he was emotional about it, right? Or most of us, if we haven't at this point, will at some point get to this, where we quit to pursue something different, right? So something better, where we think we might fit in or have a better chance of succeeding, right? And not a quiet leader isn't necessarily doesn't mean they're soft, right? So these are just things that we traditionally think of what is tough versus soft. But I wanted to kind of go a step further and I wanted to look at like leadership qualities. All right, leadership qualities in soft versus tough, and kind of see where you're at with some of this stuff. I don't think that any of us are perfect with this, right? And so that's why we're going to have an opportunity to reflect. But let's take a look at some of those soft qualities first. All right, a soft leader is going to avoid conflict. Everybody has somebody in their organization that doesn't do the right thing, right? Whether it's here at school or outside of school, and it's our jobs, it's y'all's jobs to kind of step up and call them out. We want to make people accountable. I'm going to skip one. No accountability right there. That kind of goes hand in hand with that, right? We want to make sure that we're not allowing that soft or the wrong into our program, because a lot of times that's going to it's going to be a cancer, right? It's going to spread. This one I had to be careful with, letting empathy affect values. Here's what I mean. I don't think empathy is a terrible thing. I don't. I think that it can be a good thing, but I think that when it changes how you run a program or how you are a program, then that's where it's dangerous. We're all trying to be successful, right? In whatever we do, whether it's esports or powerlifting or soccer or football or cheerleading or whatever it is, we're all trying to get to that top level. And so if somebody comes in and they're just like, man, I'm having a bad day, I think I'm just gonna skip practice. You can say, man, that's I'm sorry you're having a bad day. Like, that stings. But skipping practice, right, that's when it's allowing the values of, hey, we gotta show up every day, we gotta put in the work, even when it doesn't necessarily feel right? So, empathy, okay, but letting it affect our values is where it becomes dangerous. When we lack integrity, not everybody's watching all the time. Oftentimes, they're not, right? I think coaches, in the coaching world, we see more than you think we see, all right? We know more than you think we know. But doing the right thing is important, even when no one's looking. And then being incompetent. I think that's a lazy excuse. If I didn't know. I'm sorry, I didn't know, coach, sorry. All right? Well, you might not know the first time, but you better know the second time. All right? And if you're talking through something, you better ask questions. So I tried to match them up the best I could. They're not perfect, but going through that tough list, a tough leader delivers hard news, right? They don't avoid the conflict. They want to make sure that anything that happens in a wrong way or that's being done that's going to affect the program negatively, that's being challenged. Challenge the comfort zone. Coach Carroll loves this quote. I told it to him a couple years ago, and he called me out, and I had to say it in front of the group. But we in boys soccer, we talk about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. We have to be comfortable while we're uncomfortable. We just had to get to a point where life is uncomfortable. You guys come to school every day. You got to learn something every day, right? We come to the weight room, and if you are comfortable underneath that bar, then there's no progress, right? If you're running sprints, then and you're just kind of going through the motions, there's no progress. So you have to get into this mentality that life is uncomfortable and just kind of relish it, right? Live in that moment. Give credit and kudos. I think that is something that can always be done within an organization. The more people celebrate each other, I think the better the team is. A long time ago, I heard that volleyball players, you guys like high five after every point, don't you? And I heard that the teams, they did a comparison, teams that high five after every point will score more points. That's just like a generalization right there. So celebrate each other. Own responsibility, but I think one step further from that, like instead of just my bad, coach, or my bad guys, sorry, I missed that. But doing something about that. Are you gonna make yourself better? If you mess something up, what kind of things are you doing in place of that? And then search for people who know more. I think that kind of goes with being competent. Don't be lazy, and surround yourself with people that know more than you do, and that's okay. You don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. You don't want to be the dumbest guy in the room. You want to be somewhere right in the middle, so you're learning, but you're also giving information as well. That make sense? All right. I thought this quote kind of went with being tough. You can kind of change out hard and tough. David Cottrell has written many leadership books. So this comes from one of his books. Doing the right thing isn't always easy. In fact, it's really hard, or it's really tough. It's tough to do the right thing sometimes, right? And most of us, we know that. We know what is the right thing, but following through, that's the tough part. All right. Just remember that doing the right thing is always right. Okay. I fell upon this as I was preparing for this. I signed up to do this lesson a long time ago, so it's been kind of on my mind. And every time I saw something that I thought would apply to this, I kind of held on to it. Made a note somewhere, flagged it, put a bookmark on it. And this was one of the things that came up that I really loved. And it's a Navy SEAL thing, so you know it's tough, right? Full benefit. I'm just going to read it because I don't want to mess anything up here. It's the mindset that comes from the Navy SEALs. It's a mantra that allows them to stay focused when confronted with a challenge. The essence of full benefit lies in the continuous learning, the adaptation, and improvement. So they focus on the benefits rather than the problem at hand. And then it's moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Right? Again, if we're not finding ourselves in uncomfortable situations, then we're not gonna get any benefit from the pressure that's on us. Does that make sense? So I wanted to look at this as I was looking up tough people, and you guys have probably already seen this guy, but David Goggins is arguably one of the toughest individuals maybe ever. At least living right now. Oh wait, hold on, sorry. I had it queued up. Okay, we're not going to watch all this, but I did want to watch the last part. And then this will lead us into that first question on your chart. And it's how are you going to win the morning? All right, so we'll take a look at this, and he'll kind of mention how he wins the morning.
Being that I was in 3 Hell Weeks, I knew a lot of the guys. I knew every guy that died on the operation. So the story touched me so much, I wanted to find a way to raise money for their families. So I found the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. If you're a special operator and you die, it will give 100% tuition to your son or daughter to go to college. Great foundation. So now I gotta find something to do to raise money for it. So I started Googling all the different races. I found the Badwater 135. So it's a 135-mile run through Death Valley in the summertime. Had no idea about ultra running. I'm 250 pounds, I'm a big meathead. So here I am, calling the guy up on Wednesday. He goes, hey, you got qualified for this race. I go, how do you qualify? He says, you got to run 100 miles in 24 hours or less. And I'm like, is that even possible? I haven't run over 20 miles the whole year. Going through BUDS, I started realizing that you have to learn to control your mind in these situations. So at mile 70, when I was in the worst shape of my entire life, I was able to draw on being calm. I was able to finish the race.
What's your current daily workout routine? Like say on a long day where you have plenty of time to just do whatever.
Well, even if I don't have plenty of time, I get it in. Yeah, I make it. So I prioritize trying to win the battle in the morning. So I always win the battle in the morning. So I get morning time, every morning I go for a run. That's the first thing I do every morning. I haven't taken a day off from running since December 2016. Every day. up in the morning. So I also stretch out every day for about 2 or 3 hours. Every day. I've missed 2 days in about 5.5, 6 years. So that's just my routine. And about 4 days a week, I'm in the gym hitting the weights. Because you can't just be a runner. So this is every single day, the monotony of my life. But this is what builds discipline. And not everybody, I'm not telling everybody to do this, but this is my lifestyle. This is how I build self-discipline.
What are some of the most valuable things you learned in the Navy, be it about yourself? Or...
You know what? Some of the most valuable things, a lot of people say teamwork and stuff like that. Teamwork is big. But I learned that you have to be a good individual first. You have to triple down on your weaknesses. Because a lot of times, like, you always count on your buddy next to you to help you out. Sometimes that buddy's not going to be there. You got to make sure that you are a jack of all trades and a master of all trades. And that's one thing, you got to have your buddy's back, they got to have your back, but you got to work on yourself every single day. And that's one thing that the military has to really, really triple down on. It's something that we're missing nowadays a lot, is that total accountability of every day. Going back to boot camp in your mind. You may boot camp sucks. SEAL training sucks. All these things suck, and people are so happy to get out of it. But that's what makes you good. Remember how you were when you got out of boot camp? You're kind of all like robotic and locked in, and then it slowly goes away. You get comfortable, you start to sag a little bit, start to walk around. You start to lose that militant discipline. That's the one thing I learned not to do in the military. Is the military teaches you these great codes, ethics, morals, values. You got to continue to work on those. Like everything, it's a muscle. You stop going to the gym, you stop running, you get weak.
Right at the end, right when it was building up.
Oh, man. You broke it.
The discipline of all that stuff.
There we go.
And
Maybe
you lose
just turn
it.
it back on.
So the one thing I learned is to not lose that. Getting that boot camp, SEAL training, wherever you go to, wherever your A school is, wherever it is, keep that discipline up. That's the biggest thing.
All right. Not really sure. There's only 2 more slides here. Yeah, I'll just wing it. Yeah, I don't really need. I feel like I'm walking through it a couple times. So hey, that first thing on that list, one of the things that stood out to me as he was talking about his routine, and it was the morning part, right? He wins the morning every single morning, or that's his attempt, right? And so what I want you to do, I want you to write some way that you can win your morning. How are you gonna wake up and just know you got it? Okay? And it could be something as simple as my wife, she likes to make the bed. That's been like her thing lately. Right? And she puts all 10 pillows on there, and I don't understand it, I don't get it, right? But that's what she does. Okay? And she feels good when she makes bed. She gets really mad when she doesn't make the bed and it's like messy all day. Okay? But how are you gonna win the morning? It could be you waking up at a certain time. It could be that you make it to class 5 minutes early, but don't stay on time because that's what everyone's supposed to do. All right, so go ahead and give me something right there. I'll give you a minute or 2 to write something down. Think about that. hang out. I'm not gonna ask you to share. I think that, sometimes you can write something that's a little more personal and, without feeling any like you're gonna be put on the spot. Here's the next part I kind of broke down into two different sections. So you guys have been, recognized in a body of 3,300 students. You're gonna look around and see how few of you are here, okay? You guys have been recognized as leaders of this campus, and I think that's something that's really special, okay? So this next area, there's a two-part. Try to find one area that's tough, like personally, as a leader, that you can focus on. And then if you'll skip down past the first set of bullet points, I also want you to think of one thing that's tough for your program, right? As the boys soccer team, we talk about making the playoffs for the first time. It's no secret that we've struggled with that, right? And so we talk about this is our year to make the playoffs. We've got a really good team. We're really looking forward to that. Trying to make that happen this year. So one thing that's tough for you as a leader, and then one thing that's tough for your program. And try to focus on things that you have control over. And then the next point underneath that is, how are you going to benefit from that? How can you benefit from that tough situation? So that's kind of like the end goal. When I heard about this full benefit idea, he talked about, it was another Navy SEAL, and he talked about them going through, they call it that BUDS, right? Basic underwater something training, right? And sometimes they're having to go on these runs for 24 hours at a time. And so the whole idea is, when they're in combat, they're thinking to themselves, now when I'm in combat, I know that I can outlast anybody else out there, right? So that's the benefit of going through that tough situation. Think about what benefits you can get from going through something tough. And then the bullet points, well, you can read it too, but 3 things you're going to do to make sure that you get the full benefit from it. What are the steps you're going to take in order to make sure that that tough situation, you get the benefits from it, right? So if I don't like to deliver hard news, if I have a hard time with conflict, right, that's tough for me. So what you could, like, I can get the benefit of that tough situation by practicing, right? So if I go through practicing, confronting people when stuff's going wrong, then the benefit that I get from that is going to be a better leader. Like I'm going to be a better leader. So think of 2 or 3 things that you can, like steps that you can take to make sure that you get the full benefit from this situation. still 50, right?
Mhm.
So we have about 2.5 minutes left. The last couple minutes, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to do something. So I didn't have index cards for you, but I thought you could maybe write it down here at the bottom. I had a slide that had several quotes on it, and I think that's really important to keep ourselves focused in life, right? Having stuff in front of you, right? Eye level, something that you can refer back to is really important. So I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to kind of look up something, maybe some motivational quote, something that's going to motivate you. It could be some people put pictures, some people put numbers of things that they want to hit, right? Maybe it's a lifting number, maybe it's number of wins or something like that. But put something down there at the bottom that's going to maybe motivate you, and then put a dry erase marker on your mirror in the morning, right? Don't put it down low. You guys, put it up high so you guys are. I know you guys are always looking in the mirror, right? We're always looking in the mirror. So put it up high so you can see it, and hopefully that'll continuously motivate you to hit that goal. That's it, folks. Thank you for letting me share, guys.
So we don't have much time. You got in front of you stuff that you can take back to your program to talk about. And make sure you get with your head coach or sponsor and find time